The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary Related Entertainment.
Aloha and welcome everyone to Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support the needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, you've just got to stop by Pacific Source's cabinet and appliance warehouse and showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific and President of the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association. Today we're going to be talking with, we're kind of at opposite ends of the spectrum here today, aren't we? We're going to be talking with Haleakala Waldorf School. And then in the second half, we're going to be talking to the folks from Maui Humane Society.
Kids and dogs.
Kids and dogs. Oh, there we go. Yeah. There you go. See, I knew she'd fit it together somehow. Jocelyn's good at that. Anyway, first we're going to talk with Mikko Boyarsky. Close?
That's good enough.
Oh, okay, good. And he's with Haleakala Waldorf School, and he is, let me tell you what he's here doing. Mikko, welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm involved with starting a new high school, a Waldorf High School here on Maui. Our lower school has been in existence for 40 years, and we're just ready. We're in middle age now. We're ready to take that step to start a high school, and we're very excited. We hope that that same engaging education that really galvanizes our young people will continue in high school.
So now what? You've got kindergarten through eighth grade now.
Yeah, and the Waldorf School is very different in a number of ways. One way is one teacher takes the same class for 8 years. So that's an opportunity for the teacher to really get to know those students, find out how they learn, what they need, and think ahead what they have to do now for later on. And when you get to the high school, one teacher can't do it anymore.
I wouldn't think so.
You need specialty teachers. So we have teachers who are experts in their fields with advanced degrees and can share their excitement of specific disciplines with the students. Another difference in our school is we use what's called a block system. We have regular track classes like English, math, things like that. But in the morning we have what's called main lesson, and it's maybe a 3-week block or a 4-week block, and it's an intense exploration of a discipline. So you have 2 hours to really devote to the study of, say, organic chemistry, or 10th grade physics, bridge building, or 10th grade study of romantic poetry. So the first hour you can do head work, you can study, you can think, you can do intellectual activity. And in that second hour, you can really try things out. If you're studying romantics, write your own sonnets. If you're studying Shakespeare, start doing scenes from plays. If you're doing physics, there's enough time to really get into labs, build those bridges, see how they work, that type of thing.
So 2 hours every morning for 3 weeks.
That's correct. And it's constantly changing. You're doing, maybe in 9th grade, you'd be doing art history. Then you'd go on to world revolutions, then organic chemistry, then maybe the physics of communication and technology. You're studying steam engines, internal combustion engine. You're looking at solar energy. So it's an opportunity to really explore a topic without distraction, to really dive into it. But not forever. It doesn't get stale. You can go on to something different.
Right. So it's not, somebody actually comes out with a very well-rounded education. It's not 100% arts and science or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have more math and science credits than we do humanities at our school. People always think of the Waldorf School as, arts and humanities, but we're heavily committed to math and science. And it's a very, very broad spectrum. Another difference in our education is it is developmentally attuned. Let me see if I can explain this.
Okay.
In a traditional setting, the student is there to learn the subject. And of course, we want our students to learn something of physics, something of chemistry, something of mathematics. You want to be able to spell and write. But in our way of thinking, the subject is there for the student. And everything is coming at the right time in their development. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say we're studying ninth grade. We're going to study organic chemistry. Why organic chemistry? Because organic chemistry is incredibly chaotic. All kinds of things are happening. The Krebs cycle, the metabolism of sugar in the human body. And it's pretty much like the adolescent themselves. But if you start studying it, you can kind of figure out what's going on. What is a sugar? How is the body oxidizing it? And understanding the lawfulness of living systems aids their own intellectual development. You go on into 10th grade, and now we study acid-base chemistry. And there is nothing that lends it so much to logical thinking as acid-base chemistry. This acid, that base makes this salt. And the students, they really feel validated in their thinking. Chemistry is suddenly easy to understand because at this age, they start to really think logically. They're lending themselves to abstract thinking. In 11th grade, we're studying the periodic table and individual elements because this is a time when they start experiencing their own individuality. We're not so interested in groups of compounds like acids, bases, or salts, but what makes sulfur sulfur? How does it differ from phosphorus? In 12th grade, it's the time for theory. How did the atomic theory develop? What's the evidence for it? And it turns out that science changes. Science develops. Science is a process that undergoes change. And so our 12th graders start looking and saying, hey, scientific ideas change. They're not always the same. And they have a deeper understanding of science.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel smarter.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I kind of shut myself out from some of those classes. Just passing grade will do in chemistry, but looking at it from this standpoint, it becomes something that you want to learn.
Yeah, that's another big difference of the Waldorf schools. And when I went to school, if you had some mathematical ability, you were sort of isolated out, and only you got to take the chemistry classes or the physics classes. In a Waldorf school, every student is taking organic chemistry in 9th grade, doing 10th grade acid-base chemistry, studying the elements in 11th grade. Every student is involved in a Shakespeare play, say in 10th grade. So everyone gets an opportunity to study these subjects, and not just a select few. When I went to high school, I never walked into the arts room. It was terra incognita to me. And in a Waldorf school, everyone is doing art. The way we're structuring our day is in the morning, we have this 2-hour period, this main lesson, where you're exploring different subjects every 3 weeks. You have your track classes later on in the morning, English, math. But in the afternoon, it's going to be artistic activity. We're going to take advantage of the art studios at the Hui Noyao, where we are. And we're going to give our students an opportunity to be creative, to be active, to do metal work, to study black and white drawing, to do bookbinding, to do clay work, to study the fiber arts. And it's hard to underestimate the significance of the arts for an adolescent. I worked at an art school for the last 12 years in Sacramento. And we had a lot of at-risk students, and they looked at their art as something that saved their lives. They said to me, without my art, one thing about two students in particular, one was a visual artist, one was a musician. They felt it was what kept them going. They said to me, without my art, we wouldn't be here. And as a math science teacher, it's always a bit sad for me because I watch and I see how enthusiastically those students run to those art classes. And that's another big difference of the Waldorf approach, that art is integrated at every facet of the education. For one thing, the students are writing and illustrating their own textbooks.
Wow.
And that's quite amazing. I have one such textbook right here with me. Of course, your listeners can't see that. But this is an 8th grade book on hydraulics, and you'd think that would be a dry subject. But just paging through it, you can see that every page there's a beautiful illustration. Here, this student was illustrating Pascal's principle, that the idea is that fluids transmit pressure like electricity transmit wires transmit electricity. And we were talking about the Heimlich maneuver. and how the Heimlich maneuver is an example of hydraulics. You put pressure on the diaphragm and it expels whatever's stuck in your throat. So she has this picture of one frog giving another the Heimlich maneuver. And this one frog is sort of pulling on the tummy of the frog in front of it, and the frog's going cough, cough. But if you've taken the time to actually illustrate this, this is something that you're not going to forget.
Right.
You're engaged in that education. That's unique. Who would think of one frog giving another the Heimlich maneuver? And her little frog appears everywhere throughout the book and introduces each topic. Appears page on page.
Look at those.
Here's another illustration of a hydraulic press. And you'd think that a hydraulic press wouldn't interest an 8th grader, but it did. We set up a hydraulic press made out of a hot water bottle. Poured water into the hot water bottle, and the hot water bottle lifted up the student. I put up a huge color drawing of the hydraulic press on the board. We talked about how it works. Now I'm looking at a full-page, gorgeous colored illustration labeled of a hydraulic press with a small cylinder or a large cylinder being introduced by her little froggy here. And for some reason, they really enjoyed just understanding how this device worked, the principles behind it. And you always can tell when they have connected with a topic because it gets a big write-up in their main lesson book. They put the most time into something that really interested them. And of course, the same type of work continues in the high school, where they're writing and illustrating their own textbooks in any discipline, whether it's the study of romantic poetry, whether it's organic chemistry. And if you have to draw a chemistry experiment, for example, then you really learn to observe. You can't draw something unless you really looked at it.
That's true.
In 11th grade, they studied the epic of Parsifal, the quest for the Holy Grail. And they illustrate scenes from that 13th century poem in their main lesson books. And they're extraordinary because it's the idea of the knight going out, finding something of incredible value, the Holy Grail, whatever your Holy Grail is, that really appeals to the adolescent. And paging through those books, they look like illuminated manuscripts from the Middle Ages. And once you can see that they're entering into that story, then they have to write essays based on questions that come out of the epic. What does Parsifal have to overcome? How come he can't find the Holy Grail right away? That's the kind of questions we're asking them to answer.
Interesting. So now, as a student, a high school student, obviously you're going to graduate. I guess, if we compare it to the public school, you're either on track to go to college or to go get a technical job or go on to tech school or something. What are your graduates ready for?
Most of our graduates go on to college.
Okay.
And our students are always concerned, is there life after Waldorf school? And our parents are concerned, will my kids get into college? And what we're finding is that colleges like our students because they have such a broad education. They have a lot to talk about. They've read Russian literature. They've studied art. They've all taken chemistry. And they write and illustrate their books. They've done an interesting senior project. They've done community service. They've wired the circuits that are the basis of computers. And so they're interesting. Right now, Stanford University has an essay question it wants its applicants to answer. And the question is, discuss your intellectual vitality. Now, that's an unusual question. And it's indicative of what colleges these days are looking for. They want people who have an inner life, who have some thoughts of their own, who have something to say. And you can't stop our Waldorf students from talking. That's how we usually sell Waldorf education. We pick 5 students, put them up on a panel and say to the people who are interested, ask them anything. And they ask them the most difficult questions. And our students cock their head to the side. And out comes a beautifully phrased answer with maybe a quote from literature in it. So based on the reputation that Waldorf students have in universities and their ability to make impressions on admissions officers and the kind of way they can present themselves, we're finding that they have no trouble getting into college. And even our students with not the greatest averages seem to get into the colleges of their choice.
Wow. And what then do they pursue after college? I mean, do they become teachers? Do they become scientists? Do they become
They become everything imaginable.
Anything they want to be.
I've been keeping track. Just they become anything. We have our share of doctors and professionals. We have our share of teachers. We have our share of artists, musicians, anything. The important thing for me is, who do they want to be? And our whole goal is to put no barriers in their path. So any talent or capability they bring into the world has been recognized and given the opportunity to develop.
Oh, wow, this is fascinating. We got to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back with Maui Nonprofit Notes. We're talking story right now with Miko Boyarsky. I got that wrong.
That's fine. Miko Boyarsky.
Miko, okay. Miko, very good. And he's telling us about the new high school that's going to be opening. Actually, it's an extension of the Haleakala Waldorf School, which is now grades kindergarten through 8th grade, and is expanding starting in the fall of 2013.
Exactly, in the fall of 2013. We're going to be opening with the 9th and 10th grade, and we're on the Hui Noeau grounds.
And that's exciting because we've, the Haleakala Waldorf is in Kula, not too far from Kula elementary school. And so this is quite a transition now to go down to the Hui. But as we were talking about the various things that the kids are going to, see there I go back again, I'm talking sheep.
Yeah.
The children, they're not children when they hit high school. But now, is it going to be hard for somebody coming out of, say, a typical school to get into the high school because of the difference in the learnings?
I don't think so. And I've seen many students coming into Waldorf, and they respond to it because it's an engaging approach to education. It's something they've been looking for.
They wish they'd found it
all their
earlier.
lives. And of course, Waldorf has no monopoly on engaging instruction.
Right.
But that's our theme. Let me give you an example of the kind of instruction we have in science. And we have a very unique approach to science education. And how do you keep a student engaged in a science class?
Right.
That's an interesting question. And one way is to just begin with a question. You say, what do you think is going to happen when I do this? And you have some interesting demonstration. What I like to do is I'll ask the students a question. I'll say, what would happen if you shot a bullet horizontally, so parallel to the ground, at the same time you dropped an identical one? Which would hit first? Would the bullet you shoot to the right, say, or the bullet you let drop at the same time? Or I'll ask them a question like this. I'll say, if you shot a cannon straight up from a train, so the cannonball goes straight up in the air, where would the cannonball land? The train is racing over the ground, maybe it's 60 miles an hour. Would the cannonball land in front of the train or behind? And of course, they even raise the question, maybe it falls back into the cannon, which people just reject. That's impossible. So then we have a debate. And you'd think that adolescents would just want to do the experiment, but no. They'll talk 20, 30 minutes trying to answer this question. And we have a very heated debate in class. Where do you think? And people give all their arguments, and they stand up, they act it out, and usually one person takes an unpopular position, like the ball falls back into the cannon. Everybody rejects it as being impossible. Then I take a vote, and I say no penalty for being wrong. What we have in this class are strong opinions, lightly held. And then we actually do the experiment. I have a little device that shoots a ball horizontally to the ground at the same time it drops one. And I have a little cannon that rolls along that shoots a ball. And the answer is totally unexpected. I won't give away the shot ball and the drop ball.
Oh, no.
Actually, it's the same time, okay? And the ball comes back into the cannon.
It does.
Oh, it does.
And the students are just amazed. And, those who argued for that possibility feel just so validated in their thinking. And those who took a contrary learn even more, because nothing forces you to re-examine your thinking than being wrong or
Interesting.
a discrepant event like that. But the Waldorf approach has a very different approach to science teaching. And let me tell you what that is. It's very unusual. In conventional science, what you do is the teacher puts up a concept on the board or scientific law, and then the experiment is done to illustrate the principle. And there's nothing for you to do except memorize the law and see how it's applied. And in a Waldorf school, what we do is we do the experiment on the first day. And we just experiment a storm. The students are involved, anything you can think of. Really, and of course I choose very interesting, intriguing experiments. But no analysis on the first day. We do the experiments, we step back, and we pool our observations. What did we see? What puzzled us? What did we observe? What are the questions here? And if we didn't observe what we needed to observe, we'll go back and repeat the experiment. And then we let it go to sleep for a night. And I find that if you wait a day to think about something, the insights and conclusions you have are far more richer. If you hold off on the analysis, so you're not worried about having to think about everything, but the first day you do the experiment, step back, observe, and then the next day we try to figure out what was going on. And of course, the teacher has to be very active. I have to ask the right questions.
Right.
But I find that when I'm really asking the students to explain, to analyze, to interpret, to draw on what they know, to make sense of what happened, the conclusions are richer. Than the students, we end up revealing more than what I know. I'll give you an example. There's a little device called a miracle thaw. What it is it's a plate of aluminum painted black. And you put a steak on it, and the frozen steak, and the steak starts to melt.
Right. I've got one of those.
Yeah. And it's remarkable. And I put an ice cube on it, and the ice cube starts to melt right away. It's a miracle. And the question is, why does it work? So I thought I had it figured out. I thought I know exactly what's going on. And I had a bunch of miracle thaws I bought on eBay, and we experimented with the students. And the students have all these great ideas. We actually took out an infrared temperature gun and measured the temperature, tried different types of ice cubes, heated up the miracle thaw. And then the next day, the question is, how does a miracle thaw work? What's it doing? And the students had so many original ideas that I was surprised. I thought I'd really understood it, but there was stuff I didn't see. I didn't learn. I didn't realize that those little folds on the miracle thaw increase its surface area and play a great role in how heat is conducted. So that process of involving the students in scientific inquiry is more rewarding. It engages them. I remember in high school, how many times were you asked a question, what do you think? What did you observe?
I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever got asked that as a student.
I'm sure I did, but I just can't remember those times. I remember my high school chemistry teacher just sat at the overhead projector and wrote down the notes. And what she was doing was she was interacting with the overhead projector.
Not the students.
Not necessarily with us.
That's incredible. We could talk all day, but we only have half an hour. Well, now, coming into the high school, how many students will be in each class?
We're looking at about we're going to have about 25 students.
Okay, so it's about the same as the rest of the school.
Yeah, so we'll have probably most of our students will be 9th graders, and then we'll have a small 10th grade class. We have an open house coming up this January, Saturday the 26th, from 1 to 3 p.m., not at the Hui, but at our Kula campus. And there will be an opportunity to see some sample main lessons see how science is taught in a Waldorf school, meet our faculty, and find out a lot more about our program and what we're doing.
That's terrific. And for more information, phone number?
878-2511.
Okay. And then are you also going to be talking about the kindergarten through 8 for the next year?
In the morning, our lower school is also having an open house.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure when that starts, but you could call the school for information.
Okay.
And high school program is in the afternoon.
Is the 1 to 3. So anyone who's interested, now you have students coming from all over the island, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not confined to upcountry or...
No, we have people coming from Lahaina, from Haiku, from all over.
Wow. That's terrific. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing that with us. We're going to have to get you back on because there's so much more you can tell.
Yeah,
and
it's very interesting.
I can learn not all over again. I can learn for the first time, really.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
Is there an adult ed class?
Not that I know of. That's right. Could there be Waldorf education for adults? That's something we'll have to look into.
Yeah. Those of us who feel we missed something.
Yeah, well, and it's like, what they say is it's all about the teacher, and what I'm hearing is a very passionate, engaged teacher.
Oh, yes.
Versus engaging with the students versus the overhead projector, which I love that analogy.
That's great. And you were talking about the textbook that the student was showing. You were showing that, and every once in a while I said, gosh, I wish we could podcast, so people could see. And again, your enthusiasm for what you're doing, your passion comes right through as you talk about it. So wish you well, and we're glad you're here on the island and helping Haleakala Waldorf get their high school started.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll talk soon again. Okay, we'll shift gears now. We'll talk a little bit with Jocelyn Bouchard, who's the CEO of what are you? Maui Humane Society. Hello.
See, he's left the room and we're stupid again. See how that works?
Come back, Mika. Come back.
He sucked all the intelligence out with him.
We need you. We need you.
Because I'm like looking at you blankly like, what?
What are you talking about? You didn't know a word I said. I got you. Well, it's just, it's amazing. I remember the thing with the Waldorf school with the younger kids just getting started, and it's all about the arts and the crafts and the things like that. And to see it go from that to what he's talking about, the high school level, that in-between section has got to be loaded with education, experience, and everything that goes with it.
Yeah.
Whole new perspective.
Yeah, and it is so true, because my son is not in the classic public school either. He's in Kihei Charter, which I love that school, and I think there's something to be said for different learning styles, and we're trying to cram every kid into the same sort of learning style.
Right.
And it's nice to have alternatives.
Over the years, we're beginning to understand it doesn't work.
Go figure. Right?
Yeah. So as you say, the charter school's got one way, Waldorf's got one way. I mean, it's one size does not fit all.
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah. And so I guess I can see where some of the colleges and universities would love to have their graduates.
Yeah.
Have some of those kids sitting in the classroom with some of the others like us.
Right.
Maybe bring us up to a level that we never thought we could attain.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah,
so talking about dogs and cats and all other kinds of furry little things.
Our other kids.
I just love Nani, Lady Nani.
Has
she been adopted?
I believe she is still there. She was yesterday morning, so I haven't heard that she's been adopted.
She's so cute. How old is she?
I have a few dogs that I have my eye on that I'm really trying to push, and Nani I think is just a couple of years old. She's pretty young still. Yeah, young adult and very, very sweet.
What we're talking about is the dog of the week. The Humane Society each week has a dog or cat or both that they put up. Do you put them on the website each week, or I know in the paper?
On the website and
one.
on Facebook. One of the best places nowadays to see our pets is if you don't. You should really like our Facebook page if you're on Facebook, because we not only put up the pictures, we have videos sometimes as well, and neat stories, and then you get the comments is the nice part about Facebook too. So sometimes our volunteers will chime in and tell them, share a cute story of what happened when they took that dog for a walk or something. So I really like like the features of our pets on our Facebook right now because of that interactive kind of a thing. So
and talk about getting excited about what you do. Jocelyn's about to jump off her chair talking about doing stuff on Facebook.
I get a little crazy. Yeah.
It's terrific. I just, we talk about our pets, our best friends, and we don't always do right by them.
No.
And some of the things that as I was studying, looking over the website, things like lost dogs and found dogs. What do you do? Do you just keep it? Do you drop it off someplace? Some stuff in there about barking, how to stop your dog from barking. First of all, find out why he's barking. I thought that was a very interesting study.
Yeah.
Because some people say, "Oh, my dog just barks." Well, they don't just bark.
Yeah. Well, dogs bark. I mean, that's how they communicate. And so to expect zero barking out of a dog is probably not realistic, especially if you have a dog that enjoys using their barking. But yeah, the first step to solving any behavior problem is to figure out what's triggering the behavior, what's the reward, because animals are very basic. They do things because it works, because there's a reward, because something is working for them. And that can be attention when they jump up, or it can be food when they steal out of the garbage can. Reward comes in, again, it's what rewards the animal, not necessarily what we would think as being rewarding. So you got to find out what's creating that. And that can be a mystery in itself. And it's funny because my brother is a mechanic, and we had a lot of discussions years ago as we were both starting in our fields, and I was really focused in on behavior and training at that time. And we would talk a lot about how similar it was, because you can't ask a dog, "What are you barking at?"
Right.
What? I mean, we do, right? We say that to them all the time.
What's the matter, Scooter?
Exactly.
What do you want?
Exactly. But they can't answer, and just like a mechanic can't say, what's wrong, where are you feeling? So you have to do a little bit of detective work. You have to test things out. You have to figure out what's going on, get some information from the owner, when is this doing, what happens when you do this, how do you respond, that kind of thing. So that information on our website is designed to start that process of getting to the root of the problem.
It's great. I mean, you've got 4 things here that you talk about: social isolation, frustration, attention seeking, and then territorial, being protective. 3, the fear behavior, and 4, separation anxiety behavior. And I just, I guess the thing that gets me is some people have their animals, their dogs, and don't seem to pay attention to them. It's like they're just there. And that just gets me.
Makes me crazy. It's like, why do you have that animal, that dog that is tied up in your backyard day in and day out? We walk through our neighborhood regularly and see the same dogs and at different times of days tied out, and it just makes it, why do you have that dog?
Yeah.
And when we investigate some of those, people get very defensive, and it's like raising children, you questioning how I'm raising my dog, sort of thing. And
right. Or do they go with, it's just a dog?
Well, some people will, and there's certainly a lot of people that feel that way. It's amazing to me in this day and age that people don't get the whole thing about, we all have feelings. Dogs feel loneliness, and dogs are very social creatures. So to me, it's like you can actually do that transfer of put yourself in that position as if you were literally tethered out and not able to hang out with your friends or, ever talk or whatever it is that you do socially. If you're restricted from any of that, it's very sad.
You'd find a way to react.
And that's the amazing thing too. And one of the dogs, because I'm going to get my plug in for her one way or another, that is my pet case right now, no pun intended, to get adopted. Her name's Belle, and she is probably a pointer heeler mix. I see the heeler in her for sure. She's only about 6 months old. She's still growing. She's a very, very sweet dog. She's got the softest mouth. And what I mean by that is she's all over you with her mouth, but you don't feel her teeth at all. In fact, I had to check because I thought, did they take her teeth out too? She's very, very, very sweet. Just really a neat dog. But they cut off her ears. what her previous owners did to her, which we don't know who those people are. I would love to find them. But basically, it's what's called a backyard crop. So you know how with Dobermans, pit bulls, there's certain types of dogs that they did surgery to make them stand up, right? And this in particular, I'm guessing these people probably thought she was a pit bull or wanted her to look tougher like a pit, and a sweeter dog, So what they do is they cut them off at low down, so that basically all that's left is the part that stands up, right? And if you just look at them quickly, it looks like a crop that you would give like a pit bull or a similar type of dog. But when you look closely, you can see that somebody's just taken the scissors and cut her ears. Anyways, my point with this is, if any dog earned its right to be aggressive and not trust humans, this Belle would be it. And in fact, she's the total opposite. She is about as sweet, and she's just wonderful. And so my mission is to get her a home, because she's already been at the shelter now over a month. She's been there before Christmas. So I have to go back and look when she
was she just left there?
I'm not sure how she. Isn't that awful that she's my favorite case, and I don't even know how she came in. I know that we don't know who did that to her ears. Right. I know that, but so I believe she came in as a stray. But
wow, We're talking with Jocelyn Bouchard of the Maui Humane Society. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, your weekly show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support the needs within our community. And right now we're talking with Jocelyn Bouchard, who is the CEO of the Maui Humane Society, and she's on a mission to get Belle adopted.
Yes. So I was showing pictures again. Cannot share with the listening audience, but I think we have consensus that
must
she's
be on
cute.
Facebook, yeah.
She's on my Facebook page, and yes, you'll find her on the Maui Humane Society Facebook page as well. What you'll have to do is go to the album of dogs that are at the shelter right now, and go through until you come to Belle, and you can tons her there.
Cool.
Yeah. Or better still, stop by the shelter and just
take a look at everybody that's there.
Exactly. We've got tons of unfortunately, tons of cats and dogs down there to choose from.
Somebody was talking about you right by the front. You have some young puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Were they fairly new to the shelter?
I think that there's a couple of litters now that are in together. So there's two that kind of they're the ones from the litter that haven't yet been adopted, and so we've combined two litters together. Yes, but they were awful cute. I think that was somebody was complaining because they had to walk that way, and why are you putting them right there? It's like. They're everywhere.
Somebody who can't resist.
Yes, we love those people.
Yes, I guess.
It's like, let me help you to the car.
Now, one time you were talking about how you get like 20 to 23 animals.
Right now, our average is 23 per day.
And these are some are dropped off, some are left overnight.
Some might be left in our overnight. Some might be brought in either by their owners or as stray. Some might be picked up by our officers in the community when they're out there driving around. So they come in from all various sources, but on average, 23 a day, every day, wow. 365 days a year.
That's incredible. Now, some of these could be somebody's lost pet.
Yes.
Now, if they have the microchip, which tell us a little bit about how they get the microchip.
Yeah, so the microchip is what I call the Cadillac of the
Dog
identification out there. Yeah. Now, understand and that dog tags, the license, the county dog license is required by law, regardless of whether you have a microchip or not, because that is also a registration system. It is how we determine legal ownership of a dog should there be an issue, either a theft or maybe the dog's done something it shouldn't have done, and we're looking for a human to hold responsible, something like that. The microchip is purely for identification reasons, although certainly it can be used for some of those other things as well. But the beauty of a microchip is, you put a tag on a collar and you take the collar off to bathe them, and you don't put the collar back on, or the collar or the tag falls off, because we have lots of people that come to replace them. That's not going to happen with a microchip, because a microchip is actually it's a computer chip. It's about the size of a grain of rice, and it is with a needle injected just under the skin, usually between their shoulder blades, so right behind their neck on their back. And then we have a scanner, which I liken to like if you go to Safeway and they scan your groceries, right? Beep, it comes up with a price. Very similar type of technology. But we have these handheld scanners, obviously. We're not swiping them over. Yeah. And run the scanner over the animals. And so it can't get lost. It can't go missing. They're required, if you bring a pet into Hawaii now, you have to, that's what is required to conclusively identify that dog as being the one that's had the tests and paperwork it needs to come in. In Katrina and all these disasters where people get separated from their pets, starting back to Katrina and up to Sandy and beyond, we've had, those are the animals that get back soonest to their people, because again, you figure a disaster and who knows what they've gone through. Tattoos can become illegible. They can become hard to read in an older pet. Or, if somebody's injured where their tattoo is or scratched or something, that can affect them as well. Tags, as I say, can get lost. Microchips, they're there. There's only one problem, and it's the same problem with any type of ID, and it's us good old humans. We tend to mess it up because we move and we forget to update the information, or we change a phone number and we forget to update the information, and those are the only times we run into problems with the microchip. But if you find us and you can say, here's the microchip number for my pet, we can still hook you up together.
Okay.
So.
And so if somebody adopts a dog that has the microchip, or do all dogs coming out of the...
We are microchipping all dogs. Yeah, cats, there's an additional charge, but we microchip all dogs as part of the adoption.
So when I adopt a dog, I get paperwork that has that number on it, so I need to save that.
Right. And maybe you adopt a dog, or maybe your friend can no longer take care of their dog, and you've always loved the dog, and they give you the dog and it's microchip. You can change that information. You can go and change and that's what sometimes goes missing. So we will end up calling maybe an owner, and they say, well, I gave that dog away, it's not my dog anymore. So yeah.
Interesting. I just, every time I see a missing sign posted up somewhere, and they show a picture of a beautiful dog or cat, or basically that's usually what it is. And some are expensive animals. Some are your, I shouldn't say run of the mill, but they're the ones you love the most.
Right.
And I just think, oh my God, how sad that is to have a missing part of your family.
Absolutely.
And in many cases, I get the feeling that somebody found them and took them.
Yes, I think sometimes that happens, and sometimes people are well-meaning and they take the animal in, and so folks should know, if you find an animal, and personally, as the Maui Humane Society, if you're able to hang on to that dog and take care of it until you can connect with an owner, we're okay with that. We don't need another animal coming into the shelter. But what you do have to do, actually by law, if you find an animal, is you have to call the Humane Society and say, here's the dog, here's the dog that we found, give us the description. We keep that on record, so if an owner calls us and say, hey, I lost my dog, we can try and make that connection. There's a law in Hawaii that an owner legally has 30 days after the date of adoption or transfer or a new owner taking over to get their dog back. What that means is if you adopt a stray dog from us and an owner comes within the next 30 days, legally that's still their dog. However, they do have to reimburse you any reasonable, right? You know, if you took the dog and got a $500 pink dye job or something for it, probably they wouldn't have to reimburse that. But certainly your adoption fees, money, vet bills, any reasonable costs incurred. Does not happen very often, but we do need adopters of stray animals to know that. Now, if an owner brings an animal to the shelter and says, I don't want this animal anymore, please adopt it out, then it's free and clear to be adopted to a new pet. It's transferred into our ownership, and then we adopt it to a new owner.
See. Wow, but 23 a day, that's just incredible. Now, I know before Christmas we had Tony on from
yes.
the Humane Society, and she was talking about a wonderful project that you've got going, the Wings of Aloha. And as my understanding is that you've got agreements with several different animal agencies on the West Coast, that if they are looking for a certain kind of dog and you happen to have it, you will ship it to them, provided there's...
Even some cats, which I never would have guessed. We found some people to transfer cats to. So, yeah, basically what this is it's a program. We've worked with people locally as well. So when we're full and we have these great animals, we can transfer and sort of share the pain, if you will, with other groups that can hopefully rehome those dogs or cats. The idea is when we do a transfer, it goes to an organization where it's not going to be euthanized for space, or, you know, it's going to be able to be adopted or held at that facility until it's adopted. So it's an alternative for a potential euthanasia or other less happy ending for that pet. So what we've done, though, because, you know, we transfer on Maui, we've even done transfers over to the island of Oahu, which certainly has a higher population, but we're very conscious of the fact that as long as there's animals that are going unwanted in its community, that may not be the best community to transfer to. Hence, we've taken on this significant transfer program, because transferring to the West Coast involves plane flights, obviously, and money, right? So, but we've been able to identify some communities who have really great pet owners in the community that are being really responsible, spaying and neutering, and believe it or not, they're at a space where they have more people looking for pets than they have pets to give.
Wow.
So those are the folks we're working with to transfer. Yeah.
So the way she mentioned it's basically you're taking them along with you on your vacation, so to speak, but you don't really have any responsibility for them because you handle all that.
So what happens with the Wings of Aloha? So there's different ways we do it. Now, we may do all of it, and we get a shelter in Oregon, for example. We've worked with some shelters in Oregon, and they say we can take 2 dogs. So we, you know, make sure we're sending dogs that are going to work for them, whatever. We will take it to the airport and send it. That's very expensive. If we can find somebody who's on that flight, the same flight we want to send the dogs on, or a flight that the dogs can go on, we save a lot of money. So there's lots of ways you can support this program. One is just donating money for the airfare. We always need that. There's always going to be some money involved. So money is obviously, cash is king, right?
Right.
But certainly people that fly, if they're in the same flight as the animal is on, we get a lot cheaper. I mean, we can save hundreds of dollars on sending that animal, which is more money for other animals. So, yes, it's very simple. All they have to do is meet us at the airport, and the 2 check in together so that there's that connection made. And that's it, because on the other end, we've got our transfer partner, the group from that organization. They are going to be there. They've committed to be there and pick up the animal. So it's very, very little needed on the part of the traveler, but it saves us hundreds of dollars and allows us to help a lot more animals.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if one of the carriers, the airline carriers,
did it for free?
Would say, hey, we could take
yes,
we've got room in our luggage compartment all the time. We'll take a dog or a cat or
even if you do
something.
have room that you would do it, or yes. And I will say some of them have been great and have given us some discounts and things like that, but we have yet to find an airline that will do it for free. And yes, so airlines or people that know airlines, if you're listening out there, that would be great.
That's the challenge for 2013.
Yes.
Let's find a carrier that will say, come on, we'll take them over there. That's incredible. I mean, because obviously, if you're getting that many animals in every day, we've got too many.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. And they're not going out at that rate. We're lucky if we do 2-3 adoptions on average a day. We do more on the weekends, thankfully. But, again, averaging out, it's not even close.
Now, if somebody just doesn't particularly want to come down to the Humane Society and walk around and see the animals in the cages and things, are there other options for them to see animals out in the public?
Yes. Well, first of all, again, they can check the Facebook. They could look for a specific type of animal. We do mobile adoption. So, again, if you check our website or our Facebook pages, or you can sign up for our email alerts, because we do different outings in the community. We were at the Hyundai tournament. Sometimes we're out at different areas in the community. We don't take the pets there necessarily, but we do outings. Also, we have something called a Hanai Helper program. So you may have seen our pets like at the pet shop in the Maui Mall, South Shore Veterinary Clinic, Kihei Pet Shop. Those are some of the locations and if we again, if somebody's listening and you have a lot of foot traffic in your business and you're able to take a cat or a dog, or cats and dogs, we're not fussy, and we can have them in your shop or your retail area, it's more exposure for that animal. And if you just think about it, we're playing the odds here, right? We just want to get them out in as many places as possible to make that connection. Somebody's going to fall in love and need to take that pet home and make them part of their family. So
convenience is the name of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
An easy way for people to see these dogs and cats.
Yeah.
Now, for your 60th anniversary, you've got something big coming up this month.
We've got all kinds of things going on this year. This month we're actually focused on Freddie, our tortoise's birthday. He's turning 10, and then we're officially kicking off our 60th anniversary in February, because we didn't want to, rain on Freddie's parade,
right,
so to speak. So that's what's going on this month is Freddie the tortoise. If you've ever been to the shelter, you've seen him there. He's turning 10 on the 27th. We're having a birthday party for him.
I got to ask, how do you know he's 10? Do they have rings around him like trees do?
No, we actually, he's got an interesting background. He belonged to a past board member, and she had promised that we would take him if anything happened to her, which sadly it did. So we knew how old he was.
I see.
Yes, because
okay,
we knew when he was born.
So no guesswork to it.
Right, yes.
Interesting. Okay, and he's got his own place out there. He's got his own
place, yeah.
Pretty cool. Okay, so that's coming on January, what did you say?
27th, yeah. And we have if you guess his weight, you can win a Freddie t-shirt, and we'll have cake and all kinds of stuff going on.
Aha, very good. So lots of things are going to be happening this year, and we are running short of time again. We always do.
I know, it's never enough, right?
For sure. And I just can't say enough about what's going on out there. I know I sure would be lost without my little scooter that I found out there that one day. And I hesitate to go back because I know he doesn't want a brother or sister. Mm-hmm. He's an only child type.
Yeah.
He's spoiled. He even gets jealous if I play with the neighborhood kids.
Right.
And he can't be involved.
Yeah.
But it's hard to play ping pong with Scooter.
Yeah. I just saw a great YouTube video of a cat playing ping pong, so we'll talk after the show. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today on Maui Nonprofit Notes. We're sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the Builder's Choice. Each week we talk story with Maui nonprofit executive directors and their staff and find out what's happening. Today we visited with Haleakala Waldorf School and the Maui Humane Society. We encourage everyone out there to get involved by giving, advocating, or volunteering for your favorite nonprofit. Do it today. Every agency needs a volunteer. Some agencies need lots of volunteers. And don't forget to join us again next week, right here, same time, same place, 11:10 a.m., 96.7 FM, when we'll feature representatives from 2 more agencies. Until then, I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director, Lokahi Pacific, and we have Jocelyn here to say goodbye.
Aloha.
And we have Gary on the controls. He's telling me the music is going to get loud. So aloha, everyone. Have a great week.